All right. Good evening, gamers, and welcome to another episode of Games with Dave. Tonight, I have the pleasure of being joined by the lazy DM himself, Mike Shea, also known as Sly Flourish. He is the author of The Lazy Dungeon Master and the architect of the 8-step prep process. I cannot talk tonight. I set myself up with tongue twisters.
No.
Podcast host, author, numbers guy, and DM extraordinaire. I dare say myself, at least, that Mike has helped more DMs run better games than half the rule books on the market. And so today we're going to dig into all of his philosophy, the creativity, the business, the mindset, all of it. And welcome to the show, Mike. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. I'm coming for the other half. If I'm only up to half the games, I got work to do.
Oh, I was going to say than any rule book out there, but I didn't want to get too braggadocious for you.
Right, as we used to say, like one of the best, right? Instead of the best. Yeah. Now it's measurable, right? No.
It's quantified. So
right, it's quantified. Dangerous.
So really, the first question I always ask everybody is, how did you get into gaming and what got you started? Oh, I just saw a kitty jump around.
Oh, no. Is a cat behind me somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine will typically come up right on the desk and join me. So have no fear of kitties.
Yeah.
They're always welcome on the show.
Yeah, it's a little chaos, right? A little chaos for our conversation here. So I got started back in the late 80s. I actually started by playing video games. When they always talk about like the balance of video games and tabletop RPGs, Matt Colville made a really interesting statement about it where he was like, these things have grown up in parallel. It's not one that led to the other. We often think that like, video games are the transcendence of tabletop RPGs. Like, not really. Like they were, pretty early on. There were video game versions of tabletop RPGs. And the ones that I played were the Gold Box SSI games, Pool of Radiance, and Curse of the Azure Bonds, and I forget what, Silver Blades, I think was one of them. And I love those. And I didn't understand how they played. Like, I didn't understand the mechanics. So I bought a second edition player's handbook, and just to read it to understand how this game I was playing operated. Like, why is armor class going into the negatives, and yet that seems to be better? And what do all these scores mean? And so I liked that enough. And I had some high school friends that were familiar with D&D. They had siblings that had played D&D and stuff like that, and they were willing to get together for a game. And I started running a D&D game for about 3 or 4 of my friends, and we played in the Forgotten Realms. We used the old gray box Forgotten Realms box set, and I had a fun campaign that started in the little town of Cormorp in the region of Cormyr, and Lord Manshun of the Zinterim was a main bad guy. And so it was fun because the new recent Forgotten Realms books that just came out, Lord Manshun is one of the villains in it, and Cormyr, they don't really cover Cormyr, but they cover the Shadowland, the Dale Lands, and the Dale Lands are very near, and I had run a lot of stuff there, so it was very nostalgic for me. They're like, hey, here's this place I played 30 years ago. So I played that, then stopped playing when we went to high school or went to college, started up a game in college for about a year, and then we got into Magic the Gathering in a big way and played a ton of Magic. And then I graduated and got a job and met some folks, including my wife and some friends of hers, and we started playing D&D with 3rd edition again. And I think we've been pretty solidly playing RPGs, if not weekly, it's certainly, once or twice a month since probably 2003. And my current main group that I've been playing, my Wednesday group, I shouldn't call them the main group because the other groups they've been around a long time too. That one has been a weekly game for almost 20 years. So that, now I've been playing pretty solidly for 20 years with one group. And then I added another group about 10 years ago, and that has been going weekly as well. And then another group that started about 5 years ago, that's been twice a month. So now I'm doing about 10 games a month and have been doing so pretty consistently since COVID. So yeah,
That's insane.
I calculated out. I think I got 1,000 games under my belt in just like the past 10 years or so. I think I've crossed 1,000 games.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So I'm proud of it. And like, it's a rare thing. Like, not a lot of people are able to play games like I am. I'm really lucky that not lucky, like we met each other and picked each other because we were both nerds. So my wife brought her group, and she's like 2nd edition. She has like all the 1st edition stuff. Like, she's been playing forever. So Yeah, I inherited. I like to say that the dowry of our wedding was a giant pile of first edition D&D stuff, and I used some of it recently. Like I had some adventures that she had that all have like a unicorn stamp in them, and that she had played when she was like 14, and ran them for a group of group of folks just recently. So it's kind of fun that these same games, same modules still have something offered today.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like the fact that you have been able to keep a group together for 20
Yeah.
years
Yeah. I mean, it's
is
I would give it like 50% some secret techniques, not that secret techniques that I've been using to keep that group active, along with 50% really good luck, right? Being in the right place, having the right friends that have been interested. Some of the players in it have been there for 20 years. A lot of other players have cycled in and out over that time. But yeah, I count myself very lucky to be able to play as many games as I do.
man. Now I've got to try to catch up to you.
No competition, right? Like every game's good, so no, there's no competition there.
So, with you and everything that you've done, the word lazy really isn't a down, like, isn't a negative. It's
Right.
more of a flag that you wave.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what does lazy really mean in your philosophy? And when did you figure out it was your thing?
So I would say, the efficient dungeon master is not nearly as, sticky a brand, but that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking about, and you've mentioned over on the show that my software engineering background, right? And I was talking recently about software. I've been doing software engineering for almost 30 years, and one of the aspects is like good software engineers are lazy software engineers, right? They don't want to do the same thing over and over again. They don't write tons and tons of stuff. They find libraries and modules that other people wrote because it's easier than writing their own. And that's actually a sign of a good software engineer, right? Is that level of efficiency that you have.
Yep.
And the same is true with RPGs. It's something that I kind of clued into probably somewhere between 15 and 12 years ago in the fourth edition days, kind of late fourth edition days, recognizing that so many GMs talked about the same, like experienced game masters who experienced the same kind of thing, which is, wow, I prepped a whole bunch of stuff and I didn't use it. Right. And I had this whole big idea about what we were going to do, and we didn't go that way. They went left. And other GMs who were like, I have a note card that has 3 words on it. And that, those 3 words were everything I needed to run a 4-hour game. And, some of these were the designers of D&D, Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford talked about this kind of stuff. Some of them were just GMs who, had just started kind of playing D&D that talked about these experiences. It's something I still hear about today, where like I talked to some, good news. There's a lot of new GMs in the world, right? And I've been talking to some of them. Some of them I've go out to lunch with them and I chat with them, and I hear about like the kind of same sort of situations of great big ideas, great big events, and then they all go haywire when when they crash against the players. And I had heard from some of them that like there are things you can do about this. This is not like you don't have to go this path of over prep. You can prep certain things, and then the question is, well, what should you prep and what's efficient, right? What helps? What's the stuff that you can use even when things do go sideways? Like what are the elements? How do you prep to improvise is a big thing, right? It seems almost oxymoronical that you're
It does.
that how do you prep to improvise? But you absolutely can prep to improvise, right? There's absolutely things you can do to set yourself up to have the right things in front of you so that when your game goes a certain direction, you're ready to go with it. And that's really what I focused on from a lot of surveys of GMs, a lot of interviews with GMs, a lot of conversations I had with people. When I wrote Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master, I was on a sabbatical from work to write it. And I read like every GM book I could get my hands on, and I read all the advice that they had, both kind of, formal game master guides to various RPGs, but also a lot of just advice books that were written for game mastering that had been written over the years. And a lot of these kind of ideas all sort of resonated and focused around this concept of like, prep for efficiency. So that was something that I really dove into.
Yeah, and you've done really, really well with it. So, like the 8 steps are just, like I was talking to prior to us going live of me having issues with GMing. I've been thinking since we talked about that, like if I follow the 8 steps, it would make like just follow the process almost,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
and things will kind of come together for me.
Yeah. Yeah. A dirty secret is that's probably half of its value is just having a process. Right? That just taking this really amorphous blob of ideas and potential and understanding of games. It's something that it's kind of surprising. There are a few games that do a pretty good job at it, but I would say most RPGs do a pretty bad job of helping game masters go through the practical steps that you need in order to have an adventure running. People bring up Mothership a lot recently, right? Mothership is one that I've heard a lot, and people talk about how Mothership has an incredibly good GM guidance. And the
Yes.
reason why is it gives you guidance, right? Like more so than anything else. And you're like, we now have like, I forget how many versions, but like the 7th Dungeon Master's Guide for D&D just came out, right? Over the past 40
Yeah.
years. And I don't know that it's any better at giving people a process for running games than the previous one,
No.
right? Like there's some things it did that I'm like, I'm really glad that they did that, but it doesn't have this like, here's what, you got people coming over, man, right? People are coming over. They're going to come to your table and you want to have something for them. What do you need to do first? And not a lot of GM guides give you much of anything. And much of what they give you when they do give you stuff is kind of fuzzy. And it's because they can't get over the idea that like there's lots of different ways to do this. And we don't want to pick one and then alienate everybody who did it differently. And the nice
Right.
thing about a book like Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master is I can just pick one, right? Like I'm just one book. I'm not managing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm writing one book. And if people hate it, they hate it, right? But if it resonates with people, it resonates with people. But I think just saying like, here's what you do. Here's you sit down, step one, look at who you got, who are the characters, right? Like what are the characters? Who are they? Can you name them? Can you name all the characters? This is a really good test, right? Like, if you can't
Yeah.
name all the characters, time to do a little bit more research. Where is it going to start? You got to start somewhere, right? You got to have something's going to happen. And what can you
Yep.
do to draw players into the game? What's the thing that you can do? Say, here's the setting stage. I don't know where the hell things are going to go, but here's the setting stage, right? And then, getting your hands around with scenes, right? Okay, now I know I've got 3 hours. What are the possible things that are going to occur during this 3-hour period? What are 5 scenes that I can have on a list just to know that I've got material if I need it, even though it could go haywire and I'm not going to necessarily follow these scenes. Just let me get my hands around it so I feel comfortable, right? And then so on, secrets and clues and everything else. So, I think a big part is just that feeling of having a process is freeing to a lot of people. And a lot of people just, it's just like a life preserver. I refer to it as like a life preserver in a dark waters, right? Like the waters are all of creativity of RPGs, right? Anything can happen. You could go anywhere, who knows, right? Giant scale and entire worlds and universes. And you're like, that's not helping me, right? Like what I need to know what to do to have some entertaining stuff for my friends when they sit down at the table. Okay, here's the life preserver. Here's the thing that can get you there. So yeah, I think there's a real value. I think that's what people have been finding a real value in. Yeah.
I would agree. So another thing that I found in researching you, aside from the software engineer, was that your dad is Robert Shea.
Yeah. My dad wrote Illuminatus. Yep.
Yeah, which blew my mind when I found that out.
Yeah, a lot of people, right? It's kind of a fun surprise, right? Like it's always fun to hear people who know who he is and what he wrote, and that the work he did still resonates and affects these days. Yeah.
How did growing up in that environment shape the way you write and prep and think about RPGs?
Sure. Well, writing. So I've been around it my whole life, right? My entire life. My dad, from the time I have any memory, my dad was writing in his office at our home in Chicago, outside of Chicago, a little suburb outside of Chicago called Glencoe. And so I think just knowing that was a profession changed me, right? Like I never really thought about, wow, my dad has a different job than anybody else. But I did know that like, my dad, a lot of people knew my dad, right? And he would go downtown and people would know that, oh, that's Bob Shea, the writer, right? And that was different. But I think that it took me a while for that to really settle in until high school. And, I wasn't, I think probably because I've been terminally lazy my whole life, but like, I remember like being in a fiction class for the first time in high school and being able to write fiction. I had just read Neuromancer by William Gibson, a cyberpunk novel. It's my favorite novel, right? It's my favorite book of all time. And I love cyberpunk stuff after that. I was like, oh my God, computers are cool, right? Like here's, everyone making fun of me for liking computers. And now here's this book about this like leather jacket wearing guy with, the hot girlfriend with blades under her fingers. And I'm like, this is the best, right? Like now computers are cool. I want to write a story like that. And I wrote this story about like, crazy cyber assassins going after. So it was, high school stuff. But it was the first time that I wrote for fun and wrote longer than the required length that was given to me, right? Like normally I was like anything I could do to write as little as possible I did, but that was the first time that I overwrote, and I turned it in to my teacher who gave me an F because I used the F word in it, right? And you're like, you're 14, you can't use the F word in fiction. And I explained to her that is what the guy would say. Like, look, there's no way that dude with the life he's had is not going to be using the F word, right? And she's like, all right, you get an A, right?
Nice.
So I'm like, hey, I argued she's like, she was baiting me to explain why this guy used the F word. So, but that was kind of when writing got to be fun. And then I kept writing. Now, my dad died when I was 20, so I didn't have a big overlap in our lives where I was doing a lot of writing. And I would, obviously, I miss that tremendously, right? It would be amazing to be able to talk to him these days. He'd be 90 though. Like he was 40 when I was born, so he'd be an old dude. But yeah, he's always in my mind, right? And I think about sometimes because I think I'm sure this is everybody with parents, right? Thinks about like my dad being a real adult, and I'm never grown out of being a kid, right? Like I'm doing the same stuff I was doing. And then I remember that like he got super excited for finding a guy that was redoing Buck Rogers comic books. And like he would like wait at the door for the Buck Rogers comic books to show up and read them, right? Sit down in his chair and read them. And I'm like, he was a kid too, right? Like he had little dinosaur models on his desk. And I'm like, he and I would have been, getting along famously. Right? There would have never been a point where I'm like, oh, he's the adult and I'm not, right? Like he would have loved D&D. He would have loved what I've done. And, I talk to my mom all the time. My mom's still around and I talk to her about this a lot. And she's like, oh yeah, he was totally into that. And he was into it when I was doing it. Like he was around when I was playing D&D for the first time. So, he was very supportive of all of that. There was no satanic panic in my house. I always joke about like, people had parents with a satanic panic. And I'm like, man, you should read Illuminatus, right? Like you want to see, the acts that are described in that book, right? Like, I don't know if that's appropriate for anybody to read, right? But fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So I want to kind of put you a little bit on the spot, not really too much on the spot, but I'm going to backpedal a little bit with the 8 steps. If you were forced to keep only 2 of the 8 steps forever, which would survive the step apocalypse?
Yeah, that's a good one. My immediate instinct is to say the Strong Start and Secrets and Clues, right? Okay. I think that those 2 are probably, for me, feel the most useful and the most critical. And it's because like you always have to know where your game is going to start. And a lot of times once it's started, it's rolling, right? Once you got going, you're going. And you can lead to the next and lead to the next and lead to the next. And Secrets and Clues are giving you like these, like when we talk about preparing to improvise, that is a step that's all about preparing to improvise. Because the whole design of Secrets and Clues is here are 10 short things the characters might learn in the next game without you defining how they're going to learn them. Right. And it's that abstract feature of Secrets and Clues that means now wherever they go and whatever they do, I have something ready for them to learn. Right. And I really thought of it as like loot for exploration. Right. Like in the old 2014 D&D books, I think in the new ones they talk about it too, but they talk about the 3 pillars of play, combat, exploration, role play. And role play was really well understood. And combat is well understood, but exploration is like, wow, what's that, right? And different people handle it in different ways, and there's lots to talk about what exploration is. But a big piece of exploration is discovery. It's about learning things. It's about picking things up. And you think about like, so what is it that you learn, right? And you're like, I don't know, right? Like, I look at the wall and I see a mosaic. Whoa, what does it tell me? Oh, I I don't know. I didn't spend time figuring out what the mosaic learned. Yeah, I don't know what the hell the mosaic's about. But if you have secrets and clues, you got something, right? You're like, however, they look at the mosaic, or they got an intelligent sword, or they picked up an old scroll, or they met a creepy guy in the woods. Like, whatever path they take, you can use those secrets and clues and put them in the mouths of the creepy guy in the woods, or have the intelligent sword feed it to them in visions, or have the mosaic on the wall describe, show an activity that's from the secret and clue. So there's so many different ways you can use them, that whatever path they're taking, you can usually drop these secrets in, right? And they help you refine what your game is about, because you're asking that question of like, what is it that they could learn in the next session, right? So you're refining it down. It's who could learn it, the characters, when are they going to learn it over the next session, and what is it, right? Like, well, it's something that's important to them. It's something that's interesting to them. It's something that's valuable to them. And it gets you past world building. It gets you past like, oh, I've got to figure out the 60,000 year history. No, you only need the parts that you think the characters might discover. And it could be that they discover something from 60,000 years ago, right? So then write that down. But it's world building in 10 sentences instead of like world building in like a giant book. So those are probably the two. You'd be hurting, I think, if you only had those two, right? Like, there's a lot of other things. There's a reason why there's 6 other steps, right? But I think if I had to keep 2, it'd be those 2. I think, and a lot of times I have figured out how to. This is some kind of new advanced lazy GMing, thought is on mashing up the steps. That there are times where you can actually fit other steps inside other steps. And that idea is like, if you mention NPCs in your secrets and clues, you can highlight the NPC name, and now you don't need to bother to have a separate NPC listed in the NPC section. Monsters, right? If you have little secrets that involve monsters, you can write the monster name and maybe put a little parentheses with the page number of the monster, and now you don't need to worry about listing your monsters separately. So there's some tricks about mashing up the 8 steps that mean you could actually fit some of them into the secrets and clues one if you only had those 2. But there's also value in breaking them out. So it's not a direct improvement necessarily. There's value in having a list of monsters that's separate. There's a reason why the steps are separated out like they're separated out. And you might lose that if you try to mash them up too much.
Gotcha.
But yeah, those would be my 2. Thinking through it, and even now, I was like, I'm going to change my mind on them. Like, the other ones are important. Like, not reviewing the characters is probably a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? But like, if you can't, you can't. If if you had the step apocalypse, and there is no way to review the characters, then I think at least having a strong start and some secrets and clues can get you pretty far.
I love it. I thought you would have to think more, and you were just like, boom, this is what I'm gonna.
Well, I've been diving into the 8 steps and thinking deep about them for I don't know, 10 years. So yeah.
That's crazy to me
There's a chapter in the book that's called reducing your checklist, and it talks about like if you only have 3, which 3. So I had some.
See, I must have missed that when I was reading through it.
Yeah, I forget what chapter. It's right after the 8 steps. There's a whole chapter called like reducing the checklist.
Man. So I really set you up kind of like a bowling pin.
That's all right. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Wasn't as hard as you thought. Yeah.
Shucks. Oh well, hey, I still liked it. I like the answer.
Good. Yeah. Chapter 12, right there it is. Reducing the steps. Yeah.
All right. Dang it. I thought
of everything.
Yeah, you did. So if I counted right, your podcast is over 600 episodes.
Wow. I haven't counted.
I think, unless my math isn't always my strong suit, but I'm pretty sure that it was up around like 500 to 600 episodes.
Yeah, I just want to look. It says 642 episodes.
Wow. So yeah,
that's bananas.
So what do you think was one thing that you believed back around maybe say the first 10 episodes?
Sure.
That you completely disagree with today?
Oh man, that's hard because I got to go back. Figure out what the oldest.
No cheating.
No cheating. Well, so what I have to? Okay, so I can't go back and look.
No, you can go back and look. Go.
Oh, I don't know how I do that. So thinking back, like when I started really doing podcasts, was probably mid 5e. It's got to be about 5 years ago, right? I think it's probably about because like I had done podcasting for and been on other shows that were hosted by other friends of mine who had podcast networks. My friend James Indercasso, who's now the lead designer over at MCDM and published over at Wizards of the Coast and everything else. He ran a podcast network called Don't Split the Podcast. And I think I have that right. And he hosted a show for me, right? And I was like, this is great because you do all the work. And then, unfortunately, that podcast, he realized that like that's really hard to do, and it's time to move on. And so then I had to start doing my own podcast at that point. But I managed to grab the shows that I had done there and move them over to my podcast when I started mine, and the technology got easier. So I think it was about 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, I'll tell you a big one. I was totally not totally, but very centrally focused on D&D. And specifically D&D 2014. And, really felt like that was like the center of the universe of RPGs. And even though I had other experience with other RPGs, I played Numenera, I played 13th Age, I played Pathfinder, I played other RPGs. I think we had played, I don't know if we played Shadow of the Weird Wizard then. I think we did. We played Shadow of the Weird Wizard. So and Fate was a favorite game of mine for a long time. So I loved other RPGs. But I really felt like, yeah, those are fun, but D&D is kind of the thing. And it made sense because it really was. Like the scaling of D&D scaled up a huge amount from like 2014 until like 2022. Massive increase in people playing and massive attention. And it was really that one game, right? It was really that focused on that one game. And then the OGL happened. The OGL catastrophe happened about 3 years ago. And I realized the fragility, and it wasn't even about that specifically, because that got better quickly, right? Like the OGL thing was a 2-month flash in the pan,
right?
None of us, all our eyebrows burned off, right? And so we remember that, but it came and went quickly, right? Like it. WotC did turn around pretty quickly on that.
They did
for a big publicly traded company. They turned around pretty quickly, and in my opinion, made some very good moves that helped ensure that they couldn't do it again, right? And like hey, we that was a big, and my understanding is like that was a CEO level question, right? That was a CEO level decision in both directions. It was a CEO. I'm picking this up from podcasts and other things, and talking interviews that other people had done. But that, Chris Cox was the one who said we are at risk by having an open license like this. And big players are going to come in and take over our game, right? And because we have this open license, they could do so. We got to do something about that. And then turn around and go, okay, we made a big mistake trying to do what we did. Let's put the whole rule set in the Creative Commons to ensure that they don't even have to worry about trusting us anymore, because now the license isn't even our license. It's a license it's a community license. That change happened quickly. However, it still showed me the fragility of just being tied to one brand. And I rebranded my show from the Lazy D&D talk show to the Lazy RPG talk show, and Lazy DM Prep to Lazy GM Prep. And even though I still continued to play and continue to play a lot of D&D, I really try to look at the wider range of RPGs out there and changed my own identity to just being a lover of RPGs, period. Right. All of them, including D&D, right? Like I didn't want to, I listened back to some of my shows that I did back then about the OGL. And one of the things I kind of said was like, I recognize there are people who don't want to let go of D&D even during this thing. And I'm still on their side, right? Like I'm on the side of anybody who wants to play RPGs. Right. And whatever RPG they want to play. Like, I think the hobby itself is important enough that we shouldn't shun people because they decided they want to play the popular game. Right. Versus shunning the people who are playing the game no one knows about. Like, if you're playing RPGs, I'm on your side. I'm here to help you. Right. I'm here to kind of work you through it. So that was a change in philosophy, I think, from some of my earlier shows, where the kind of the way that I can see it in old articles that I wrote. Right. Of the focus of my tips and the focus of my attention was on D&D exclusively, and the mechanics of D&D and the mechanics of 5e. And now I'm much more focused on like, what are the tips that we can use for all of the different RPGs that we can run?
Yeah, and you do a great job. Like, you've got your Shadow Dark Ravenloft.
Yeah, love that
you've done, which I've watched that episode so many times. It's one of my favorites of yours.
Oh, that's great.
And because Ravenloft holds a very special place in
Yeah.
my heart. It was one of the first settings I was introduced to by my brother, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But that's how I fell in love with D&D
Yeah.
was Ravenloft, and then to see somebody take it and be like, well, you don't need to have D&D to play it. You can move it over to this system, which
Yeah, and here's your Ravenloft speed run, right? Like,
yeah.
like here's this campaign level thing that you're going to get done in 4 hours.
And boy, has Kelsey done an amazing job with Shadow Dark.
Shadow Dark is amazing. I like right before this, I was recording. I have a Patreon podcast I do called Readings and Reflections. That's me reading
The
my
Scarlet
previous article.
Minotaur.
Yeah, and I just did my Readings and Reflections on the Scarlet Minotaur, which is the adventure that's inside the quick start rules. And I said it in that one, and I'll say it here too, where I'm like, I feel like Shadow Dark is more D&D than D&D is these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an argument, and it makes some people very mad when I say that, and other people are like, yeah, I get it, right? And I'm like,
no, I totally get it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't love 5e, right? And people will take it as a slight on like, oh, that means you hate D&D, and like, no, I just feel like D&D went in a direction, and if you want like the game that really captures the core, and cuts away the cruft, man, it's hard to beat Shadow Dark.
It is. And I feel like RPGs, especially since the OGL like crisis or whatever you want to call it, has become more of a buffet.
Yeah.
So to speak, of like, because so many people, because of the OGL incident, like started to branch out and be like, oh, look, wow, there's Shadow Dark, there's DCC, there's Mothership, Mornborg,
Right. Dolmenwood and Dragonbane and One Ring, and you can go on and on and on, right?
Yeah. I've got shelves.
I know, me too. I'm
surrounded
by RPGs I'm probably not going to play in my life.
Yep. But they make great reference material.
I know, and then they're just fun to read. I have a copy. I bought the One Ring just because of Asmodee's thing with the license for Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, I don't know how long we'll be able to buy this RPG. So I bought it, and it's sitting on my bedroom nightstand, and I just kind of open it up and read it. It's a beautiful book. It makes me feel like Lord of the Rings. It's just fun.
It really does.
The art is so good. Yeah.
And we've actually got a couple questions. One from early this morning from OG Venomlust. It says, what are the sort of major choices with some kind of dichotomy and major meaningful outcomes you enjoy presenting to your players as a DM?
Let me. Can you put that back up?
I sure can.
Major choices, some kind of dichotomy, and a major meaningful outcomes you enjoy presenting to your players as a DM. Yeah. Okay. So like, I'll give an easy one because I'm about easy things, right? I'm about lazy things. How do you enter the dungeon? Right? Like, let's have, I think this is kind of like a dichotomy of major meaningful choices that offer a dichotomy. And I think this is, so one of the things I love as a lazy GM in general is when you can do a thing that has multiple purposes for you. Right. And an example, so an example is like, having the players recap the last session. Right, is a little dirty trick, and it doesn't always work well, and sometimes it's almost always got a little bit of weird uncomfort as everybody's figuring out who's going to say it. But and no one's like, I don't know, I don't want to forget, right? But like, it's a valuable thing because it's like it's something you can do that makes it very clear that the game has started. It kind of gets the players engaged with what's going on, but it also tells you what they remember, so that you can either make sure to course correct if you absolutely need to, or what the focus of their attention is on. So it's a little trick that serves multiple things, right? It does multiple things. And so one of the choices that I love putting in front of players is like, you go up to this, you're heading to this old ruined watchtower. You see that there's a main door at the base of the watchtower that's guarded by 2 ogres, right? You can see 2 ogres with big helms standing in front. In the back, there seems to be like an old cave that's going into the base of the tower, sort of at the rock, underneath the rock of the tower. But there's some weird shadowy presence there that makes your skin crawl when you look at it. You don't know what it is, but there's something there. And you can see there's a couple of guards on the roof, the top of the watchtower, and very likely there is there's access to the rest of the tower through the top. What do you want to do? right? How do you want to approach it? And then the players get to decide. I don't know. Should we just walk right up? Do we want to talk to those ogres and pretend to be something else, right? We're the watchtower inspection, the watchtower inspection team, and they're violating, OSHA compliance because of their lack of railings. We're going to try to pull that off. Are we going to, let's just go through the basement because nobody will know that we're there and we'll just face whatever that shadowy horror is? Or why don't we go, this literally happened. We will polymorph ourselves into a mammoth and then cast fly on the mammoth, and everyone will climb on the mammoth and fly up to the top of the tower. That'll go really well, right? There won't be any problems with that. And
no one's going to spot you.
No one will spot you. You're not going to get hit by a nest of sturges. Nothing's going to happen. All right. Spoiler. They got attacked by sturges. Although one of the players is like, I'm not doing that. I'm climbing. I'll go climb on my own. And you guys could do your mammoth nonsense. And so he sat there on the top of the tower watching the mammoth getting attacked by sturges. That was literally happened. But the trick is, like, there's lots of fun player agency. They get to choose their approach, right? They get to go where they're going to go. And I have no idea what they're going to pick, which means I have forced myself to not prep a linear game. I have made myself recognize that I have to be ready for them to go in any of those paths, and that the kind of prep that I'm doing has to be able to support them taking any choice of the direction that they're going. And sometimes boxing myself in like that makes me prep the right way for me. I never want to say like the right way, but like it makes me prep for situations rather than trying to build a linear story. So that serves multiple purposes, right? It gives us agency. It's, really, offers a lot of fun, but it also kind of makes me prep in a different way. So that to me is a very simple dichotomous choice that I can put out in front of players that, works really well, and there's lots of little like other ways to handle that kind of thing. The three choice idea is a good one on doing it. But I remember in that particular circumstance, after they had done their flying mammoth technique, I went into the kitchen to go grab a snack, and we had a newer player at the table, and the newer player said, "Man, we totally ruined Mike's adventure. We totally ruined his plan." And I came out and I'm like, "Dude, you think I have a plan, right? Like, I have no plan. Like, I don't know what you guys are going to do. Like, why would I bother to consider a plan?" Right. And I think that's sort of that leap that GMs can make. Right. Old school gaming calls this prep situations, not scenes. Right. And
Right.
Prep situations, not story. And that not everybody does it that way. And I didn't do it that way for years, for decades. Right. 4th edition, I had a story, man, and they're going through it. Right. And it's 3 rooms, right? I only got we got 3 hours to play. That's two, maybe 3 battles. I'm going to put 3 rooms with a hallway, right? And you're going through those 3 rooms and you're going to have your fights, right? And then still I had players that played and enjoyed it, but it was very different, right? The situation was very different. And now I've been playing these very open-ended games where the ending of the game is completely different than anything I ever could have considered because they made interesting choices somewhere during the rest of the game.
We now have Mike Shea and the Tale of the Flying Mammoth.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
So one thing I know you're a huge proponent of. Actually, I want to pop this up from Danny Gable. He said, "I love DCC."
Yeah.
I do too. It is such a fun system, and the weird dice are like the best thing ever to me. Like, I love having a 30-sided die, 24, a D7, a D5, and a D14.
I'm happy you're happy.
Yeah.
I've got enough weird dice. I don't need any more weird. I remember I went and played at a local convention. I played some DCC and it was fine. I like it. I like DCC a lot. I got 2 bugs with DCC, but I'm not going to knock someone else's system. We all love what we love. But I remember playing it and they're like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, "I don't know why I need all these weird dice." And they're like, "Heretic," right? Like, kill the infidel, like stone him, right? And
that's what I was just picturing, the steps in Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, right. Or Monty Python and yeah, right. Yeah. So, I don't know that I need more weird dice. And for a rules light game, boy, that's a big book.
It is.
Those are my only 2 critiques, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like Shadow Dark gives me that same sort of feeling in like 8 pages. Right, like I
can definitely see how you.
Yeah, so I dig it. I would totally play more DCC, and
Nice.
But yeah.
But
I'm
where
not
I was,
knocking it. No, people
no.
absolutely love DCC. Again, I love RPGs. I'm on your side.
Yeah, I'm I like I have so many systems in
But
my house. Like to say that I
I got
have,
back problems, and carrying
yeah,
around
yeah.
giant books is not helping in it. Yeah.
Uh, so one thing that we're both huge proponents of is random tables.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. I'm working on a zine, and I think I've got 20 of the 40 pages are probably tables
Sure.
that I
Great.
put in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um,
I was having a big
seldom.
heated discussion on our Discord server about random tables just today.
Oh no! See, I
Yeah.
missed that because I was working on one of the other 100 things that I told you
We've
about.
had nothing but heated discussions the last 3 days, and then today was
Oh
random
man,
table day.
maybe this is a bad
No, bring
question
it. Yeah,
then.
we'll see.
But if you were to sell it to the skeptics,
Sure.
why do you find random generators not like lazy shortcuts, but creativity kind of,
Yeah.
I hate this word, but hacks?
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Right. Yeah. So what I'll give you like a little taste of my feelings from the conversation that I had. So we were talking about like I remember how it came up. We've been talking a lot about old school gaming and like how old school, how do you sell old school gaming to players and all kinds of things that had it. And I said like one thing that OSR games have really spoiled me on is all of the random tables that they include. And now I open a game like Daggerheart, which I'm running tomorrow night, and I'm like, man, I wish this had more random tables in it, right? Like it's missing thing. It feels like they're missing now, right? It feels like, where's the random monster tables? Like, how do I know which monsters to, consider?
right,
And the argument that I make for random tables is you certainly don't have to use them if they're there. You can go down the list and choose what you think works well. But if you don't have it, then you can't, right? Then you can't roll randomly if there isn't one. Right. So,
right,
that I feel like they can, but one of the things that I think is really valuable for having random tables is it's a different way to engage with a book. So if I get a book like Daggerheart and I'm considering running like a tier 1 game, like a starter game, and I look and there's 36 tier 1 monsters and they don't all immediately leap out to me as clear monster types. I don't know what they are. But I'm like, well, I can roll a die on that and I can get one and then I can go look that one up, right? And I can kind of engage with it differently than needing to know them all, because I only need to know the one I rolled randomly, right? For that one take, and maybe 2 or
yep,
3. Like maybe I roll and I'm like, oh, that's not, acid spitter. That's not one I want. Oh, this guy, maybe, I don't know if I want. Oh, this one's kind of interesting. So it's a way for me to kind of engage asynchronously or out of series with a book. Spell books are the same way. Like when I was like, bless Kelsey Dion for putting random lists on spells, right? So when we roll scrolls, I've got it right there. If the characters pick up a magic scroll in the list of spells that exist for wizards, I can roll a die and figure out a spell that's on that scroll, and that just saves me time, right? Like now I don't have to worry. I don't have to go through and think about every single spell and whether or not it's going to be the right spell or not. And if I don't like the answer, I can roll again. Right.
right.
I always have ways to kind of change that up if I want to. So yeah, I've become very kind of spoiled by random tables in books. And then you get somewhere like, wow, the advanced use of random tables. I just got Dolmenwood, right? I got my Dolmenwood box set, which is
so nice.
Bananas, right?
Yeah.
The quality is bananas. And wow, does that thing use random tables all over the place and in lots of really cool ways. So I dig that a lot. And the other one is the Monster Overhaul, right? Monster Overhaul by Scribbles.
Scribbles, such a good book.
Crazy good monster book of just wild idea. Eight tables for the ogre, right?
Yeah.
The ogre alone has eight different random tables you can roll on to kind of help flavor it. And I just find that valuable. Now I've got friends who've been in this industry, in this hobby their whole lives, who don't like random tables at all. They don't want them. They don't need them. And I'm like, okay, like we each kind of like the things that we like, but I never saw a circumstance where like, I wish that didn't, I wish this list of spells didn't have numbers next to it, right? Like, who cares? Yeah, you don't want to, you don't have to roll, right? So I think there's value in having them, even if you have people who don't need them. You can always ignore the number, right? You don't have to roll on them. But if there's no number, now I don't have anything to roll on.
Yeah.
That's my general feeling on it. Yeah.
Boy, I didn't realize I was tapping into such a such a contentious
Well, I don't
subject.
know if it's that contentious, like, I don't know, but it's interesting, right? Because now I do have all these 13th Age. I adore 13th Age, and I just got 13th Age Rev 2, and it doesn't have random tables either, right? And it's like, oh, I kind of miss them. Like, it would be really great if there were more random tables. I was looking at the icon system, and there's 50 pages of icon stuff. None of them about like random re-rolling in order to figure out what you get based on an icon roll. I'm like, oh, that would have been for me, that would have been such a valuable tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love tables so much
Yeah.
because they alleviate a lot of overthinking.
Yeah.
'Cause I am notorious for
Yeah.
overthinking
Yeah.
things, and
Sure.
it's just like, boom, okay, cool. Like there's 2
Yeah.
ogres in front of the
Done. Yeah.
tower.
And you don't have, right. You don't have to, right? Like the nice thing is, like, if you are more of kind of a hands-on GM who's, I think maybe a misconception is like, well, if you have random tables, you have to roll on them, and that means your whole game is randomly generated. And it's like,
Right.
you don't have to do that. It's just helping fire off ideas, right? It's just ideas. And I really think that, like, our, mixing our imaginations with a die on a random table is a really good way to kind of shake up, get the value of our crazy imaginations with the advantage of not getting stuck in a rut of stereotyping and stereotypical adventures, right? I think it's really powerful. I joke that, like, we don't need large language models. We have our brains in a die, right?
Yeah.
Which the
Yep.
large language model is not much different than that. Only, we're not melting an entire glacier in order to roll a D6.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
Um, so you've run a few Kickstarters,
Yep.
and what would you say is, I don't think scariest is really the right word, but I'm going to use scariest moment that you've had running one of your campaigns?
Well, so thinking you screwed up right in the beginning is pretty bad, right? Like, thinking you made a mistake, particularly if you made a mistake on something you can't fix. Like, if you put up this is kind of a nitpicky one, but like, if you put up a reward with the wrong price and somebody backs it, you can't change it. So
Right.
that's really scary. Luckily, I don't think I've ever had any kind of Kickstarter launch where we did something like, oh my God. An example of, like, I'll tell you, like, here's a scary one. After the Kickstarter is done, having Kickstarter say, hey, we can't verify your bank, so we don't know where to send the money to, and you're like, oh my God, like, we took it, like, the money's been charged, but we're not giving it to you. And you're like, that's bad, right? And so,
Yeah. Ooh.
oh, those are some stressful days of, like, that. And what happened is, like, the back end processor for Kickstarter is called Stripe, and they're used all over the place for all kinds of credit card stuff.
Yep.
And, like, the verification process for Stripe changed in the middle of the Kickstarter. So from the day one where I had already done my authentication to day 30 when they had changed the rules, by then they had changed the rules and didn't start me off. So there was like a 6-day period of verification before they even started sending the money. And in the meantime, you're like, I'm in debt already, right? Like, these people are owed product and they got charged. So, and they're not going to go be angry at Stripe. They're going to be angry at me, right?
Right.
That was super stressful. There's tons of stress involved in a Kickstarter, right? There's all over the place. And a lot of it is like, nobody really knows or pays attention to it at all, but there's lots of little things that go on. Manufacturing books in general is a chore, and worrying about, a big risk is like, no one, especially these days. I'm lucky that I'm not really in the middle of one right now. We finished one, and that went smoothly. And now the projects I'm working on now are not even, maybe mid 2026, I'm going to have something, and then another one in maybe 2027. So I've got time, but the whole idea of, like, I've got to take money and give you some kind of feeling about how much shipping is going to be in a world where shipping prices are jumping all over the map.
Yeah.
That's bad, right? And again, no one, people won't care that the world is in chaos when it comes to shipping. They're mad at you. You said it was
Right.
going to be $12, and now you're making me pay 14, right? Or whoever.
Or even more, depending
Yeah,
on.
right. Right. So
Right.
we got, it breaks our heart. Like, Michelle, my wife, manages all our operation stuff. And it breaks our heart when she's like, somebody ordered a book and the shipping is twice the cost of the book. Right? Like, they want the book so bad, they're willing to pay twice the cost of the book for the shipping. And we're like, we almost wish we didn't ship it. All I want to do is get books in people's hands, right? Like, I don't want to get in the way, but we can't go broke doing it, right? So like,
Right.
we have to charge what we charge, and some cases just like the the infrastructure, like a rough one for us is Australia, and it's because we don't generally sell enough books in Australia to move a whole pack of books there, because you're paying shipping 3 times essentially. If you're trying to get books in Australia, you have to pay basically 3 times to get a book in someone's hands. And it's worth doing that when you have a lot of books. But if you're not really selling that many books in Australia, you're just your costs are even worse than if you just charge direct. So that stuff is really rough. And I don't know if those are answering your question at all. They're
No,
they're
it
both
did,
weird,
because like when
there's
you
a
were
lot of
talking
there's a
about
lot of
like,
back end stuff in Kickstarters that's pretty awful and also really boring to talk about.
so Gilth, actually, let me see. Michael Spreaderman said, I completely agree. I love random
Yeah.
tables and riffing off the results at a
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
Totally agree on that one.
Yeah.
And then Gilthus says, I've mostly stopped going for physical shipping from the US. I'm in the
Yeah.
EU. I'm
Yeah.
happy to do digital goods. And
Yep. Yep.
POD has seen
Yeah.
it.
So we have a distributor in Europe, right, that we work with and have worked with now for the last 3 Kickstarters and sell our normal books there. And they're in both EU and UK, right? They have warehouses in both EU and UK, and the shipping is still really high, right? It's really hard. Like, international shipping, just even from UK out to EU places, is really high. And just a lot of geopolitical stuff that's going on that's making the shipping costs go way up. And even then, it's like we have it and we can't do it. So we sell print on demand, right? We move our books to print on demand places. We sell them on drive-through. We sell them on Amazon print on demand, and they have better access to it. And unfortunately, the quality of print on demand stuff isn't as good as the quality of our offset printed work, but it's a way for people to get it. And we try to be as open as possible for people to try to get our material however they can get it. But yeah, it's tough.
It is. Yeah. And when you said, to go back to the Kickstarter thing, when you said like having the payment fail, my stomach just sank for you. I'm like, oh, I would be like, I don't think I would have slept for those 6 days.
Yeah. And it was like, if I recall, it was like $300,000, right? Like, it was a lot of money. And you're like, wow, we're going to go bankrupt, right? Like, we're going to lose our house. So,
No.
yeah, it was scary.
That's crazy. So one of the last things I had is, you have said before that your content isn't about you, that it's about helping people run better games.
Yeah.
And how do you balance that mindset with still creating stuff that you care about?
I mean, so I'm always solving my own problems, right? I'm always exposing my own problems and solving my own problems as a method. I do DM tips every day, posted on various social media platforms and also on my newsletter. And those are from my games, right? These are the every Thursday. I did them today. I did them this morning. Maybe I did them last night, but like, I ran a game and I got some ideas from the game that I'm like, this worked well. Like, this is a thing that worked well in this game. And I write a tip so that people can kind of get that experience of the thing that I've got. And now I've been doing them long enough and I talk to enough people that I'm like, I'm pretty sure this tip is probably useful. People are like, hey, print out pictures of NPCs so you can give NPC pictures to your players so they can actually see who they're talking to, right? Like, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Like, not not the most advanced thing in the world, but it's a nice little tip to remember because it can make a big difference, right? Like, I did it for my game and it was really helpful. So I'm always kind of solving my own problems, but I always have to be aware that my problems aren't everybody's problems. And this is something that helps me a lot on Discord. I got friends on Discord that we have the article today where I wrote an article and I had people that are like, that works well for you. That doesn't work well for everybody. Right. And, and I'm like, yeah, all right, let's talk about that. Right. So we kind of talked back and forth about it. And I'm like, I think I need another paragraph in here about, how to kind of articulate what you do next. So I get useful feedback on that, where sometimes, some criticism I get is, that this works for you. There's an argument I don't buy, which is you're this brilliant GM and nobody can do what you do. And I'm like, I'm really not, right? Like, like, my games look like everyone's games, right? Like, they're not, they're not special. They're special to us. They're special to me and my friends. But I'm stumbling through RPGs like everyone is stumbling through RPGs. But we're trying to find those tricks of like, but there are some things you can do that can improve your games, right? That I think can have improved many people's games, not just my games, many people's games, that we can bring to our games to help people do it. So, I am and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I think it's always a safe bet that you're in the average, right? That I'm in the average. That is a safer bet than I'm some mentat, GMing mentat who's got brain patterns that nobody can replicate. Because I know it's not true either, right? Like
I would argue that actually,
because
I picture you sitting there. I don't know if you remember that show Numbers about the two brothers, and one of them was really good at math, and he'd see everything flowing in front of him.
I guarantee you, I'm not. Now, I think there's some there's some value in practice, right? Of like, I have people like, man, I really have a hard time coming up with 10 secrets and clues, and so there was one thing which is a false impression. And that's when people watch my prep videos on YouTube, they're seeing half of what I actually did. And that's because when I shoot it, there's lots of dead space of me like, staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell to do, right? And then I'm not putting that in a YouTube video, right? So I've got automated software that can clip out scenes of me staring at the ceiling and cut that out so that it shrinks the video. And the way to tell is my prep time is almost always an hour, and sometimes those videos are 28 minutes, right? Which tells you there was 32 minutes of dead space, right? Of me staring at it. So that's a clear way to know that I'm sitting pondering this stuff too. But I think there's a lot of practice. I think there's some dirty tricks. One of my the dirty trick that I like is if you can't think of something, think up 10 things. Right? That if you're trying to think up one good secret, don't come up with one good, come up with 10 that are okay, right? Hammer out as many as you can, right? It's an old ad trick too, right? Like what's the ad tag that we're going to use? Well, come up with 10 of them, right? Come up with a bunch. And I do it for everything. I do that for projects that I'm going to work on. I do it for article ideas. I do it for chapters of books I'm going to do. I do it all over the place. I'm like, what are 10? And I like to go for a walk, and during the walk, ask myself, before I get to the end of this trail, I have to have 10 things, right? And it makes me like, even if they're bad, right? It doesn't matter if they're good or bad, have the 10. And I think that brain practice has wired something into my head where now it's easier for me to come up with 10 secrets and clues. But I try to like say, hey, here's lots of different prompts for secrets and clues. Here's lots of different areas that you can consider for secrets and clues. Like, what are all the kinds of different subjects that you can consider for secrets and clues? Because they, and I know a lot of people come up with them, right? Lots of people use secrets and clues. Like it's not something that's in the book that people are like, I love your book, but I can never do that. No, there's lots of people who are able to do 10 secrets and clues. So it's viable. But I think that's something I have to keep in mind though. Right. Often is that where I am compared to where everybody is. But I don't buy the I'm special. I don't think I'll ever buy it.
This is kind of funny. Gilthus says you need to insert those silent movie slides in those videos. 10 minutes later, all I can picture is the SpongeBob.
There'd be 200 of them. I mean, I literally like, when I cut this stuff, there's like 50 segments in a 1 hour video where I spend at least 3 seconds in dead silence. Right. And some of them are long. Some of them are longer than that. So there would be constant cuts of that stuff. Like I just switched over to a new video editing package called DaVinci Resolve, which is what I think a lot of people use DaVinci Resolve for their editing. And it's got a really cool feature where you can, drop in, hey, where's the dead space and how low the volume is and how much of a threshold do you give on either side. And it just riddles the video, right? Like you look at all the cuts. Wow. There must be 30 or 40 cuts in the video. To pull all that out, but it makes the videos better, right? It means that people can listen to the video and listen to the podcast and not be bored out of their mind, because no one would want to. I mean, I'm amazed that people listen to it on Twitch, and my guess is that they have in the background or they're doing something else, right? So my silence isn't bothering them.
Interesting. I watch everything, so I'm the odd man out, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that was all I had.
Lots of me saying friend. Marker.
Yeah. That was all I had. And before we do go, I want to pop this one from Michael up on the screen. He says, I highly
Oh,
recommend
wow.
Sly
Yeah.
Flourish Patreon. I've been a
Thank you.
supporter since 2019.
Thank you,
But I
Michael.
want to give you a minute to tell folks where they can find all your work
Sure.
and how they can support you.
Sure. Thank you.
Because I think it's very worthwhile that people do so, because you bring so much to the table for GMs and players alike. So
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my passion, right? It's what I love doing.
you can tell.
Yeah, so I've cut off a fair bit of social media. So slyflourish.com, my website, is the best place to go. And on Sly Flourish, you get access to all kinds of things, articles, resource documents, all kinds of stuff that I've got there. The main sort of, and the links are all on that website, but probably if it was like the things I would love people to do, number one would be sign up for the newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter every Tuesday. That newsletter is a new article that I write, and my wife Michelle edits, and that goes out, and each article has links to all of the stuff that I've done in the past week. So it has links to the podcast, has links to the YouTube videos. It has chapter breaks for the YouTube videos. So if you're only interested in certain subjects, you can go straight to the chapter on that subject. You don't have to go through the whole video. And has 7 tips, but it also has the main article, RPG related article that I write every week. So that's the easiest and cheapest way to support is do that. Patreon, I have a very active Patreon. I have 2 tiers that are very reasonably priced: a $2 veteran tier and a $4 hero tier. And I put out tons of stuff. Like the patrons have helped me considerably. Like City of Arches was a 2-year Patreon activity before it became a book.
Wow.
Lazy DM's Companion, which I wrote during and published during COVID. All of that was a Patreon product. Yeah, right there. So all of that was put out page by page and for patrons. And got feedback on it from patrons. Patrons got access to all the stuff early. They still have access to the original versions of that, which is called Uncovered Secrets Volume 1. And so I put out we have a very good symbiotic relationship for patrons. Right? Patrons get a lot of extra material that I'm putting together, and I get really good feedback on that material, some of which ends up becoming bigger projects like City of Arches or like Lazy DM's Companion. And then I call it new. It's a couple of years that we've had the hero tier, but I have another podcast on there called Readings and Reflections that I talked about, which is like a 10 to 12 minute weekly podcast where I read this week's article and then talk about it. That's really fun to do. I just did it right before this show. And then I did a bunch of City of Arches supplements, more than 15. So I think we're closing in on 20 different supplements for City of Arches that are available to patrons that are probably only going to be available through Patreon. I don't think I'm going to turn them into anything else. And that's available to hero tiers as well. And then the other one is my bookstore. So I don't know, is this coming out as a separate video, or is this it? It is like, here we are.
No,
live.
this will be
right.
a separate video once we're done, it'll load onto YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. So I've
got all the links in the description down below as well.
Yeah. So, and thank you for the opportunity to plug. My wife and I are running a sale on the Sly Flourish bookstore right now. So the bookstore is the kind of the third angle. It's available right off the Sly Flourish homepage, and you can find, if you're on a normal large screen, you will see links to books on the right-hand side. If not, there's a bookstore link at the top. And we're selling all of our books except City of Arches for 20% off. City of Arches is too new, so we didn't want to put it on sale right away. But every other book, digital or physical, that we sell is 20% off. And people in the United States or the UK, not the EU, sorry. It gets back to that shipping problem I was talking about before. We're offering free shipping for purchases of $60 or more in the US and the UK, including City of Arches, including anything that you buy. So if you buy $60 of any product, gets you free shipping in the US or UK. And that's going on, I think, until the 17th or 18th of this month. I should know. You would think I would know, but I don't. 17th. Yeah. So those are kind of the 3 avenues that we're typically paying attention to: our newsletter, Patreon, and the bookstore, right? Those are the ones that kind of directly help our business here. But then, I've got lots of stuff all over the place: podcasting, podcast, YouTube, the website, lots of things that are going on. But they're all linked off of that Sly Flourish homepage. Thank you for letting me do a 20-minute.
You're very,
site.
Dude, that's what I'm all of. I am a firm believer in the rising tide lifts all ships
Well, thank you.
mentality.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Because, and thank you for coming on tonight. I
Sure,
had so much
a
fun
good pleasure.
talking
Yeah,
with
it's a
you.
great time.
And everybody, if you haven't read Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Forge of Foes, City of Arches, or any of that, you're really missing out. So go check out slyflourish.com. And again, Mike, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Dave. This is Games with Dave, and I will see you next time, folks. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.